Hello everybody and welcome back. I am Perrin Lovett, your humble host, the host with the most Christmas ties. And this is the Prepper Post News for Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020. This is take, 7. So, one of those mornings. Well, welcome back to everybody at fp.com, the Freedom Prepper community, Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, wherever the podcast is found. And of course, to our many fans, friends, followers at YouTube, where I'm sure that all the videos will continue to run without issue. And a couple of issues that I overlooked. It is Christmas week, and we're going to have just a fantastic prepper time here. Yesterday, I missed the official opening of winter. So yes, it's not your imagination. That cold out means that winter is here. It's official now. Got a bunch of really cool in-house announcements. So I learned why Scott hasn't posted the big community announcement over at the Facebook group and page yet. That's because he's still under a slight censorship issue. Ban. There's some terms of service issues that I had nothing to do with that one. That was just their censoring of the message of truth and freedom. But that's going to be made soon, so look for the number of members at the community to just skyrocket. And a little bit later this week, possibly as soon as tomorrow, which will be Wednesday, look for 2 Christmas-themed, semi-prepperish Christmas stories by yours truly. A little fiction. I think I'm going to run one tomorrow that's been submitted for publication elsewhere. One of those things waiting to see. But because I control all the rights to my writing, I'll put it up for you good folks. You're going to like it. It's kind of a fictional take on some Christmas time current events that may or may not be unfolding, or may not unfold the way I portray them. It's a fun time. You'll like it. And then I think Thursday, Christmas Eve, I wrote up a very special prepper Christmas tale just for us, and it's only going to appear at the community. So if you want to read either one of these or participate in some great conversation, get on over to freedompreppercommunity.com and join up. You're really gonna like the you should like both stories really, but you'll really like the second one. It has a somewhat coffee-ish theme, a little Java for your Thursday, Christmas Eve, and there's a lot happening with Freedom Roasters coffee. A couple of things that I talked to Scott about. Major growth. It appears major growth, and I'll have more on all that soon. Let's get into the news. Of course, the feature topic, or any topic you want to, or anything else you want to talk about, drop the comments below the video at YouTube. If there's a problem there, or if you want to just shift it over to a totally free platform, do it at the community. You guys are great about that. The feature topic today is kind of mixed up, but I call it equity. You know, this is the usual suspects, the Prometheans, the Luciferians. They like to come up with all these new terms and phrases that, make no sense. And they also like to go back and grab old words like equity that they don't understand at all and don't care about, and then use them for their new and malicious purposes. Equity is one of them. Equity, diversity, inclusion. Anything new, beware of. Anything that's being put to new use, beware of. So they're talking about equity with medical treatment and the vaccine for the coronavirus, SARS-2, COVID-19, blah, blah, blah. New strain in England, 7,000% more dangerous than the whatever. A couple of people have pointed out, Carl Denninger has been all over this, that we haven't had, well, some people in America have had access to it, but there is, and there has been, a most effective treatment for coronaviruses, SARS, and a whole bunch of other illnesses that is in regular use in places like Africa. And I'm still on the fence about the pronunciation. I didn't even look it up. Let's give it a shot here. Ivermectin. Good enough. Your doctor won't prescribe it. Doesn't have to. You can walk into some stores and just buy it over the counter or order it online. What is it? It's an anti-parasitic drug developed decades ago for cattle and in places where disease runs rampant and you have, cattle herds that can pass germs along to people, places like Africa, India, etc. People have been taking it too, and it's perfectly safe, effective, as long as it's used as recommended, and it appears to just knock down the coronavirus. And the equity comes in. I've got another story about that. I've got a link to Carl's website. He links to a video. Take a look at all that and just see and think to yourself, why, if we've known about this the whole time, why hasn't anybody said anything until now? What are they trying to do? Is this profit for drug companies? Is it more control? And the answer to those questions and anything else you come up with is probably yes. But equity, they kept telling us early on that this disease was, the Black Plague, worst thing we've ever seen. Blacks and minorities hit hardest, and they haven't let up on that. And who was it? The Johns Hopkins World Health. Somebody had the big map of the world, and every country got a dot for a set of cases. And the more cases you got, the redder the country got. Eventually, the whole world was pretty much just blotted out in red, except for Africa, where the black people live, which, had like one dot here and one dot there. And if you clicked on the dot, it was, a country of 90 million people with 5,000 cases and 2 deaths. Why? Well, maybe because people have been taking this drug on a regular basis, and they're just, it's like they're immune. So take a look at that. And here's the second part of that story. This idea of equity. We've got to protect these most vulnerable people that worldwide don't appear, and even by our numbers, don't appear to be any more vulnerable than anybody else. And remember, this thing, as much as they hype it, just is not that dangerous. And they keep hyping it. I mean, they're bringing up stories now from months ago, trying to, your lungs blow up. It's horrible. All these new symptoms we never knew about. So they've got this idea, and the Daily Mail has a story. Half of U.S. states, and there's a map at the Daily Mail, are going to prioritize non-white people for vaccination first because of equity, whatever that means. And the map is, about what you'd expect. Red states are the ones that are not giving any special preference, and the blue states are places where they are. A couple of places that stand out: North Carolina is a blue state. They are going to give preference. Virginia is not. I might expect that to be the other way around these days. But here's the deal with that. First of all, equity, equality. In the old days, that meant we're all equal. We'll all get an equal shot at things, like a shot. But now we want to have special treatment. Well, if I was a white supremacist, I'd be really upset about that. Oh, we're getting the backseat treatment. They don't care about us. If I was black or brown or not white, I'd be real suspicious. Really suspicious. Oh, you want me to go first? And again, I know where you guys stand on this. I think we're on the same page. So just everybody be very, very careful. And that's what CNN is fretting over. I saw this. I almost didn't run with it, but there's a story at CNN print about how all these news outlets and newspapers need to be very careful in the way they cover all these adverse reactions. We've got a narrative to push, so don't you go scaring people with things like the nurse in Chattanooga getting the shot and then passing out. And I didn't link to this because it's a pure rumor, or it was at the time that I briefly looked at it. Rumor is she didn't just pass out, she died. Now, I tried to hunt that one down. I found her hometown, looked for an obituary, and all I could find is this tabloidy stuff. This comes off of the Chans, these rumors, which are frequently right, and if they're not completely right, they're onto something. I don't know. I don't put a lot of stock in that, but somebody always dies from these medications, and how do you report that? And the suspicion about this particular medication ranges from bad to horrible. So let's us exercise a little care and caution, not in the reporting, but in the way we govern our lives, because they're ours. It's not theirs. They're not completely in charge of everything. Sometimes they notice us in our lives. Every once in a while, especially this year, you see these stories. CNBC has one again about how cool preppers are all of a sudden. Hey, did you know there's this group of people that we used to say were utterly insane and militia types that are going to, try to blow up the government. Now it looks like, everybody wants to be one, including celebrities. Be very careful if celebrities jump in and start endorsing your movement. We know we don't need their influence, but they ran a pretty good story about how people are, stocking up on crazy things like, I don't know, food and water, just in case something like, I don't know, a pandemic or an economic collapse hits. Take a look at that and just, pat yourself on the back. We were right again. We've been right on a lot of things. They have not. They have a narrative to push rather than the truth. And look for that. I think I talked about this yesterday. It's already starting to shift. It's already starting to change. Look for that to really intensify as we get close to January 6th, all the way up through January 20th, 21st, and probably thereafter. We don't know what's going to happen. But we have people like Lawrence Tribe, the famous law professor at Harvard, who just had this 2018 executive order. We've been talking about it for a long time. He just read it yesterday. Oh, what is this? I never saw this before. It feeds into this idea that they're just starting to notice that maybe somebody in the White House right now still has options, still has authority. And they're now writing stories. Politico has one about what happened last Friday, the ramifications of that order and other things. And they're slowly starting to turn this. They're going from Biden won, shut up, no dissent, no discussion, probably turning over to Trump has stolen this. Russia, back to the narrative they've been pushing the last 4 years. He's not really the president. Well, tough. Politico noticed that he had a meeting Friday night with Sidney Powell and allegedly with General Flynn. They talked about things like the Insurrection Act. That's been around for 213 years. I wonder if Lawrence Tribe covered that in his old con law book, which was, pretty good for a crappy con law book. They're all bad, but his was one of the best bad ones. Yeah, and then they're also talking about martial law. And there's splitting hairs, a difference between pure martial law overriding the Constitution and doing something like invoking the Insurrection Act so as to protect the Constitution. They don't understand any of that. The truth doesn't matter to them no matter what it is. But it is interesting about Sidney Powell possibly being designated as the special counsel to look into what? What could she be looking into? Massive fraud of some kind? I don't know. I'm banned from saying certain things. I am not a fan of special counsels, special prosecutors, because if you look back the past 30 years, they have a rather lousy track record. And, the me of 5 years ago would have just reacted in horror if you had mentioned seriously in any way insurrection or rebellion or martial law. My, how things change. And things will keep changing with the MSN. They're not going to be as cocky, but they are going to start to moan and cry. And maybe here's a great narrative shift. Maybe after January, we can shift them away from being the mainstream media. We can become the mainstream media, the people who bring you the facts objectively, sometimes entertainingly. And they can just become the alternative, quaint, nobody pays attention to them, inconsequential communist media outlets, like Pravda back in the 1950s and 60s. They let's see what they're reporting on now. Yes, economic issues. The stock market has fully recovered, third quarter, best ever. Even Trump, takes too much credit for that. Has nothing to do with all the tens of trillions of dollars in funny money the Fed has pumped in. But that has helped certain people, or certain fake people, certain corporations. Axios has a story. 45 of the 50 largest companies in the country they're just making money like crazy this year. Best year ever. Everybody else, Greenwich Times reports, not doing so well. Some of us knew that, but there are apparently 8 million more people living in poverty in the mighty United States than there in 2020 than there were in 2019. So money for them, not so much for us. At the end of the day, when the books have to be balanced, I have this sneaking suspicion that they're going to come to us, including you 8 million new folks in poverty, heart goes out to you, to pay off the tab. And, at that point, we may have to make alternative arrangements. But hey, don't worry about it, because Congress, they're got to watch the language here. They're going to help us again with another great bailout. I mean, $600. When you've lost your house and you have no job to go to, and the kids need braces, $600 will just take care of everything. As opposed to the trillions that the criminal bankers on Wall Street get. I mean, it's 600, a trillion. I mean, do the math. It's fair. It's equity. It's equity. You gotta laugh at some of this stuff. Here's one I just don't know about. I call this, in print I said, Operation Northwoods. Nope, 9/11. 2.0, not 3.0. We've got this cat from Kenya who went to the Philippines to train on flying airliners. And apparently he got a pilot's license. Came here for the express purpose of allegedly flying an airliner into a skyscraper. What does that sound like? Yes. That's the plot from Operation Northwoods, a CIA program from the 60s that got shut down, thank God, to, frame Cuba for having terrorists fly airplanes into skyscrapers. They had to hold off on that one about 35 years. You may recall that some people did something. And this guy allegedly tried to do it again. Kenya, the Philippines, mass migration of people, diversity, another buzz phrase. Just wonderful, right? I mean, look at look at the possible terrorism. What if this guy had succeeded? But here's the crazy thing. Who is telling us this story? Why? The same government that came up with Northwoods in the first place. The same government that railroaded the 9/11 Commission, to the point that they said that there was nothing to investigate because they were stonewalled at every turn. War, Patriot Act, money for the banks. The same government and the same media with the government that hasn't told us the truth about anything ever, as long as any of us have been alive. Just think about that. So if you're on a jury in the Southern District of New York, you've got the United States of America versus Mr. Kenyan terrorist from the Philippines, hooray diversity, who's the bigger criminal? How do you decide this? How do you know what's true? We don't. And that's the beauty here. If I don't know something, if I think it's a rumor or I think it's suspicious, I tell you it's a rumor, it's suspicious. Do your own research. Keep your eyes open. That's the big takeaway from all these stories. All right, I got some foreign affairs to get to before our final word of the day. The sea powers, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard put out a wonderful report. I've got a link at fp.com about the coming decline in naval power of the United States in the next 10 years. It's many pages to read. It's a little on the boring side. They're going to suggest that we need more money, and more money. $1 trillion a year just isn't enough. We need 100 trillion for more ships and bigger ships. We're getting to all things being equal, they might be right. We may be approaching the situation that the South African Navy is in. They don't have enough money to operate. They can't even run their ships the minimum number of hours to keep the sailors proficient in running the ships. We're headed that way. We're also headed for a new clash of the ironclads, where our Navy just becomes completely obsolete. The surface fleet, anybody in the Navy now will tell you honestly, there are two types of ships, subs and targets. And we've got a lot of big, impressive targets floating around, just waiting on subs and hypersonic cruise missiles. And things are changing rapidly. And spending money is not going to fix it. Matter of fact, the fix would be to spend a lot less money, contract the empire, and just do things like protect our legitimate interest, which we could do. These folks, these grifters, it's a very nice report. It's the cover picture is a stormy sea under some dark clouds. What a metaphor. Let's see, our friends from Israel, Mossad is going to the movies. This is a Washington Post story that I found through the I guess it's the Houston Chronicle. They're getting involved in Hollywood movies and television, the way they have been for decades, pushing propaganda. And they're hardly alone in this. If you look at some of the background and the budgets and the advisement on a lot of movies made in America by Americans the past, 40 years, you find odd connections to the Pentagon and Langley. Like they're trying to, with everything else they do, control a narrative. Keep your eyes open. And by the way, who goes to movies anymore? Speaking of Israelis, everybody likes Gal Gadot, and it's Gadot, not Godot. She's not French. Gadot. Jeez, I'll say it. Gal Gadot rhymes with hot. Wonder Woman. There's a new Wonder Woman movie, and nobody's going to see it because, the theaters, they're all 4 people per screening with mask and plexiglass. They're going to stream that movie on HBO from the start. You can buy it or rent it or something. Nobody's going to see movies, so maybe everybody will miss this propaganda. Possibly not unrelated news. President-elect, God, Joe Biden is considering appointing Disney head Bob Iger, to be America's ambassador to China. Certain people in the know would smell something with that. It has nothing to do with, Disneyland, Shanghai, Beijing, or whatever it is. This doesn't really matter because I don't think that President-elect Joe Biden is going to be appointing any ambassadors. But that's a Wall Street Journal story, and we can always trust the Journal. The final word of the day is 2 words. Dilbert, down. One daily publication I always trust and look at is the Dilbert Cartoon. It's brilliant. Written by Scott Adams. He has a blog and a vlog. He has a video channel at YouTube. And he's just run into the same predicament that Freedom Prepper did. They just yanked down one of his videos when he was daring to ask certain questions about potential fraud in something that I'm not allowed to mention, like the historic 2020 presidential election in the United States. He mentioned it. He said, ask yourself why a social media platform that has more fake news than real news only blocks election allegations it claims are false and not everything else. The Republic is dead. He said what he wanted to. He was dangerously close to the truth with whatever it was, and they yanked it. Now, they were a little kinder to him. They pulled his video, but they didn't hit him with a strike. They hit us with a strike, which meant we couldn't post for a week. If we ever go down again, it'll be for 2 weeks. Look for us on at the community. He's a little bit bigger name, has more power, so they want to be a little more gentle with him. And he's reacting the right way. He's putting his videos up elsewhere as well. He's building his own platforms. And he's not wrong about this idea that the Republic is dead. Arguably, it's been dead for 160 years, murdered by a tyrant named Lincoln. But take the politics out of it. We have private, fake people, government-sanctioned corporations like YouTube, or I guess it's YouTube Studios, right, guys, out there, San Bruno? You're a Delaware corporation to avoid liability and taxes, doing business in San Mateo County, 901 Cherry Avenue, San Bruno. But the corporations now do all the censorship. They're not Congress. They don't have to worry about the First Amendment. Really? Interesting times. Interesting times. You can't shut us down. You're not going to shut us down. We will replace you. So, and it's going to be great. It's going to be this is going to be a very fun Christmas week. And I keep telling you, folks, January, we may have a month-long party. I don't know. The party may roll into February, but it's going to be a good time. You'll be here with us. Do check for the Christmassy fiction coming soon. You're going to like that as well. And I'll let you go. Have a great Tuesday. I'll see you back tomorrow.